here today as a citizen and a taxpayer, and I am taking the time off from work to give testimony today. I stand in support of Senate 1352. About 6 months out of the year, I'm a bicycle commuter, and I travel some of the busiest streets and roads in Boise and Ada County, and in the state for that matter. More times than I care to remember, I've had to dive off into the borrow pit or into a ditch or into a crowded parking lot to escape being bumped, hit, or otherwise run off the road by an inattentive driver. Many times as you'll look up, you will see that the driver, whether they realize it or not, they haven't even looked up from their lap to see what has happened. As a bicycle commuter, you can tell who's paying attention to the road and who isn't. You become acutely aware of what's going on around you, especially in traveling on such streets as Chinden, Ustick, and some of the other busy streets around Ada County. I've had conversations with Senator Bach. I've had a conversation with House Chair Wood over a year ago about the issue. It's not just teens, it's the adults. And those of us who are not proficient texters, I think, are the more dangerous of the groups that are out there. An argument was put to me by a member of my family: I should have the right to check my email while I'm sitting at the stoplight. And I replied, when you apply and are granted a driver's license by the state of Idaho, you make a commitment to the state that you will abide by the laws and the rules and the regulations that go with the issuance of that license. That does not give you a right to update your Facebook status while you're sitting at a stoplight. Just a very quick note, Mr. Chairman, if you might, just last Saturday, I have a 16-year-old son who's a sophomore at Rocky Mountain High School, and he and a friend were en route to a debate tournament in Caldwell. They were on Eagle Road, southbound, and while they were in traffic waiting for a light to change, they were hit from behind by another car. As the officer investigated, he found that the adult who was driving the car had been using a cell phone. The ironic part of the story is my son was going to compete in a debate tournament where he participates in student congress. His bill is to outlaw texting while driving. I would just say that the members of that student congress found that bill to be very favorable. In fact, he's advanced to the national qualifier, and they passed the bill, and I would urge you to pass the same with Senate 1352. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Senator Brodsard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Browning, the way I read this bill was the amendment. Those people that want to check their email at the stoplight would still be allowed to do so because they would not be in a moving vehicle. Did you interpret it the same way?
Mr. Chairman and Senator Brodsword, I do interpret it that way. I think also at some point the power of good common sense has to take over. And if your attention is diverted to checking an email while you're at a stoplight, you are not as aware of the changing traffic circumstances that can happen even during a traffic light stop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could do one follow-up.
Yes, Senator Brodsword.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Did your son in his report address other things that are inattentive driving, like putting on your makeup, eating while you're driving, drinking your coffee, spilling it in your lap, and trying to wipe it up? Because I know that there are people out there who've had that out. So if you just give us a little bit more information on other things he covered.
Mr. Browning.
Mr. Chairman and Senator Brodsword, he did, and all of those things currently fall under statute as inattentive or distracted driving. And I have to say, I thought he took a fairly brilliant approach, which was the approach to the bill that he took was that it further defined and helped clarify the law and gave law enforcement an additional tool in that quiver, if you will, that they need to identify what is distracted and inattentive driving. So they did look at those things.
Senator
Sounds
Wendell.
like you'll go far.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bryan, I know you said you were on your own time, but can I ask a Department of Ed question? What type of effort do you think the schools can do through driver's training and that type of thing to help educate and understand this problem also?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Winder, I think there's a tremendous amount of work that can be done on the K-12 level and at the higher ed level. We are dealing with digital natives who have grown up with technology. They are folks that, for folks of our generation, we've had to become digital immigrants. We've lived at a time where we didn't have a cell phone and we weren't constantly instant messaging or texting. We're able to live without it. they don't know any different. And I think the schools can play an important role in safety education, either through the driver's training program, or I think just peer-to-peer awareness. I think that as we've heard here today, these students get it, they understand it. And sometimes it's we adults that have to be brought into line.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.